Hello everyone, welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan, a TV program that provides opportunities for local authors to share their journey to getting published and on their way to becoming bestsellers. We all have different definitions to what happiness means to us, individually speaking, and this is one of the many reasons why we created this show. If you're an aspiring author or not, this program is yours to enjoy. With us today, we have Scott Sowers, the author of Life and Death at the Dog Park. And he will share with us his journey to getting published and his many challenges. Thank you so much for being with us today. So tell me more about your book and what brought you to writing this book.
I used to hang out a lot at a particular dog park in Washington, D.C., and there was a sort of a group of regulars. It became sort of part of the social function. And the park was not far from where they found what was left of Shandra Levi a few years ago. And so I just got this idea that, what if, one of these people were to disappear in a mysterious way? What could possibly happen? And that's kind of what led to the book.
Interesting. And what brought you to become a writer? I mean, did you just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to write? Or were you inspired by many popular authors such as Stephen King or any of those?
Probably not Stephen King, but writing always came very easy to me in school. English was very easy for me, and when I was in high school, I was put into the honors English program, and when I went to college, I took basic composition. Once again, it seemed very simple to me, and along the way, people said, "You're really good at this. This is something you should pursue," which I tried to, but I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I didn't know any writers. My parents didn't know any writers, so at the same time, it seemed kind of very pie in the sky. So I guess I was always interested. I always did it. I was told I was good at it, but trying to figure out how to turn that into a job or a lifestyle is hard.
Interesting. And tell us a bit more about your journey to getting the book written to presenting it to the publishers or the agents. Which journey did you use?
Well, I started off, as most writers do, they tell you the thing to do is to write the book and then get an agent to represent it for you to publishers. This is the traditional way books have been published for years. But it's also gotten much harder because everybody's writing books. And books aren't selling as well as they used to, and there's competition from the internet and everything else and blah, blah, blah. So I went that traditional route first. I wrote the book. I presented it to agents. A couple of them asked to read pages, 10 pages, 100 pages. Some of them want to read the whole book. I was just talking to you off camera that I went to New York, this is probably 4 years ago, and got it in front of a publisher who published similar books to this. She read it. It took her about 6 months and got back to me and rejected it. So basically, after everyone had rejected it, I was faced with, okay, do I do something else, or do I go the route of self-publishing, which is what I did.
Okay. And how did you deal with rejection when it came to it being your first book and having to spend probably years to write it and then finally realizing that, okay, that doesn't fit their program, that doesn't fit their agenda?
Yeah, well, rejection is always horrible. I write professionally nonfiction to pay the bills, and I still get rejected with pitches or ideas, and it's never any fun. It's gotten easier to take as I've gotten older because you sort of develop a thicker hide. You become more resistant to it, so you bounce back quicker. But it still stinks. And I think the first reaction is always emotional. You always feel like, well, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with my idea? Why doesn't people like this? And then you kind of have to put your marketing publisher hat on and look at whatever it is that you're trying to pitch and look what else is out there and just figure out why is this not fitting? So you have to be a little bit analytical about it. When it comes to fiction, though, fiction is very subjective. I can read a book that I love. You read the same book, you hate it. So then it becomes more a question of, well, how bad do you want to get it in print and see if people will like it.
I see. Okay.
So you sort of have to push through that if you're dedicated to it.
So how did you learn the process of going from the traditional route to the self-publishing route, and then having to get your own ISBN number, the Library of Congress number, the barcode for Amazon and all the major retailers to be able to at least capture your book into their accounting program? How did you learn all that?
Well, trial and error, basically what I call the poke it with a stick school of thought, where you basically get on the internet and you start reading how to publish a book. What do you need? Where do you get this? How much does this cost? What's the best way to do that? You spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out, do you want it on Kindle? Do you want it on Amazon? Do you want it on Nook? Do you want it on iTunes? And each of these platforms has a different format in order to get the book up there.
Approved, yes.
They all want a cover of some sort. Either you have to design one, or they will design one for you. And then the ISBN number is basically the serial number for the book. Every different version of the book has to have a different number.
Correct.
You have to buy these numbers from. There's only one company that sells them. But it was a trial and error process that took a long time. And this is, in the olden days, if you had a traditional publisher,
that was not your problem
they
anymore.
would take care of all this for
Correct.
you, for a big slice of the royalties. But that's the role that they played. So if you're going to do this on your own, then you have to figure out all that stuff on your own. And it's not rocket science. Anybody can read the internet and figure out how to do these things, so it can be done, but it takes time. Yeah,
definitely. Now tell us about your writer's block. I know a lot of authors out there, they could just kind of like sit down in front of their computer and say, okay, what am I going to write about? Did you start your book with an outline, or did you just go directly diving in and then change it accordingly depending exactly what made sense and what didn't?
Yeah.
I know a lot of publishers, they always ask, okay, write yourself an outline first, knowing exactly what will be the content of each chapter, and then you write accordingly. What was your method?
When I'm writing fiction, I have done it both ways. I have written an outline, and then a lot of times I don't write an outline. I'm in a novel group. I have been for years, where we meet once a month and critique each other's pages. And one of the running jokes about me is that everybody in the group knows that I don't have an outline and I'm making it up as I go along.
Okay.
And sometimes they'll take me to task and say, "Where is this going?" And I'll go, "I don't know." I believe, and this sounds a little metaphysical, but I believe that if you create good characters and put them on the page, the characters will start doing things that you don't expect. In terms of the block, luckily, I've never really been blocked. Occasionally, I'll have trouble starting a piece. I can't figure out what the lead is, and when that happens, I usually just write the stupidest thing I possibly can. I don't think about it too much. I just go, "This is wrong," and I write it. But then you have something that you can go back and react to and edit. So even if it's bad, just write something. With the fiction writing, sometimes I'll get hung up on the plot, especially if I don't have an outline.
Yes.
Like I'm currently writing a sequel to this, and I'm about 70 pages in, and I kept trying to write, and I was like, I don't know where this is going. And so I kind of stopped and let my mind wander, and eventually I think I got to do something. One of these characters has to do something. And then a little voice appeared in my head,
a little inner voice,
and
yes.
told me what the character was going to do next. I went, okay, there we go. So that should give me another 50 pages or so.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
At least, definitely. Now, once you completed this book, the first draft, did you present it to your family? Did you present it to friends? Did you present it to your group? Did they read it? Did they say, no, maybe you went out on a tangent that made no sense, basically? How did you recorrect yourself or go back into the path that you were supposed to be originally?
Yeah, the whole book was worked through the group. We call it Novels in Progress. It's on Meetup if anybody out there wants to join. But the hardest part for me was the ending. So I wrote an ending to it. I worked it through the group. And they said, no, we don't buy it. This doesn't make any sense. So then I wrote an alternative ending, ran it through the group, and they said, oh, well, you're closer, but there's still a hole or two here. So I think it was the third ending, I finally got a consensus, and they said, okay, this still is not that great, but this is better than the other two. So I think I even tweaked that one a little bit and got it to where I was happy with it. So
Okay.
yes, not the family, but the group, yes.
The group, okay. But you said you're going to write a sequel for it.
Yeah.
So did you have to correct the ending? Because now you have to leave it open for people's imagination to know that there's a sequel to it.
Yeah, well, some of the characters are back. I left the first one wide open for a sequel,
Okay.
so that wasn't a problem. The ending was, how to solve the mystery,
I see.
because
Okay.
I had a lot of, loose ends by the time I got to the end. And, you have to tie that up in a nice little bow.
And how far are you from, the second book? That is, I mean, are you gonna change? You're gonna add more character to it? Are you gonna add more, I would say, challenges or more ways of like determining exactly who is the killer, who this, who that? So how did you?
Two of the characters actually 3 of the characters are back from the first book. 4 of them, including the dog, because the dog is a big part of Mookie, is a black lab and helps solve the mystery.
Okay.
So Mookie's back. Mookie's owner's back. Her sidekick's back. Her boyfriend's back. But everybody else is brand new.
Excellent. And you find yourself more creative in terms of writing the second book because you already had an idea from the first one?
Trying to pick up where I left off and also go a little bit further with this one, I think.
How far are you going to go with that one?
I don't know yet because I don't have an outline.
Okay, that makes sense. So when we come back from a quick break, we will continue our conversation with Scott Sowers and address his many challenges as an author, getting his book to print, and his marketing plan to promoting his first book on Amazon and other available retailers across the country. Stay tuned. Message from the universe: controlling your own destiny. Don't you think it should work like this? You have a desire, you dwell upon it, move with it, and presto, it manifests. You fall in love at the right time with the right person. They fall in love. The timing is perfect, and bingo, the earth moves. You have a huge question. You turn it over to me, forget about it, and ta-da, you just know. Me too, which actually is exactly how it works in the absence of fear. Cool, huh? The universe. Look at the universe like a department store's online catalog. You're comfortably laying on your couch, browsing through the thousands of products, and you find exactly what you're looking for. With your credit card in your hands, you click on the Purchase Now button and you get a clear confirmation that the order is being processed and ready to be shipped. So what do you do in the meantime? You're excited about your new purchase and can't wait for the post office to deliver it to you. Now, do you go back online and reorder the same exact product in the fear that the store hasn't taken care of your purchase? Do you call them 5 minutes after your online confirmation to make sure your credit card has been charged, or are you confident enough that the item will be shipped and arrive safely to your destination? As guess is the later, right? This is exactly how it should work when you put up your thoughts to the universe and let the universe process your order and allow manifestation of these thoughts to happen. Time is in your favor when it comes to allowing great things happening. Success doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time and energy and hard work to reach the summit of your career. During that journey, you will fail, F-A-I-L, which stands for First Attempt in Learning, and will recover from this failure no matter what it takes, because you can do that. We adapt to an environment and can move on towards bigger and better things. We need to control our own fears and not allow them to control us. It is important to always be ready to accept whatever comes our way and learn to change things around so we can focus on what is ahead. This is your life and you have every right to decide the path you want. Never allow anyone to take control of your destiny, because no one deserves that power except yourself. If you want to learn more about the universe, be sure to watch the Happiness Journey right here on MCM. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm here talking with Scott Sowers, the author of Life and Death at the Dark Park. We will now discuss about the hurdles of promoting his book to retailers and getting reviews from bloggers to properly get his book in the hand of potential customers. A very big challenge for most self-published authors out there. So Scott, Tell me more about those challenges.
Well, the marketing is a huge challenge, and this is something I think anybody who's been through this, once you finally get it up to Amazon and Kindle and whatever channels that you're using to try to get it out there, you're, I think, secretly hoping that as soon as it shows up, people will start to buy it and the money will start to roll in. But it didn't work that way for me. It got up there and basically nothing happened, which was okay because I wanted to make sure everything was working properly before I started to really promote it. So what I've found is, in order for my book to sell, I have to do things like this. I have to promote it. I did a book launch at the press club when it first came out and sold 50 or 60 books.
Okay.
I did a book launch in my hometown of Hubbard, Ohio at a local bookstore and sold 50 or 60 books. I do things on Facebook. I do things on Twitter, which usually don't turn into much sales. It's usually personal face-to-face. Hand selling seems to work the best for me. I was telling you just before we came back, I did an event last week at the Eastern Market in Capitol Hill, the Capitol Hill Literary Fest or something like that. I'm screwing the title up. But I didn't really expect to sell anything. Speaking of bloggers, it was sponsored by the Hill Rag, which is a local community paper. They reviewed my book, which turned into a couple sales.
Okay.
And then they asked me to participate in the book festival. I agreed. I sold 12 more books, which I really I was expecting to sell 0. I was basically doing it, for PR. And these are perfect strangers who just came up, saw it. The cover is kind of funny. I have the bone. I forgot to bring the bone with me, but I have the bone at home. I usually take it to book shows, and so it's very grassroots. But I like to think that I'm building an audience for the second one.
Now, overall, your experience, Scott, when it comes to writing, what advice would you give to other aspiring authors that hesitate from writing a book, knowing all the challenges and obstacles they will actually face in the future? What would you tell them? I mean, what kind of piece of advice if someone comes to you?
Well, a lot of people come to me and they'll say things like, "Oh, you're a writer. I wish I could write. I wish I could do that. I just can't write." And a lot of people seem like they feel like they should be writing something. And they'll say, "Oh, I used to keep a journal. I used to do this. I used to do that." And I've had people join the novel group. Maybe they've got 20 pages or they've got 30 pages, and they feel like they need to finish it. And they never last very long, because I think if this is something, if you're a writer, it's usually not something that you have to force yourself to do. It's something that just sort of comes out. It's something that sometimes you can't really even turn off. You'd like to just say, "I don't want to do this anymore," but it keeps coming out. So I would say, if you're on the fence about writing, don't do it. Find another hobby, because it's not easy, and it's there isn't a lot of. I mean, there are rewards along the way, but it's not. People aren't going to stand up and cheer because you're a writer. Maybe your family will, or your close friends, but it's not easy. And I think if you really enjoy it, which I do, and sometimes I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world because I get usually paid to do something that I like. I have a job that I like. So if it's something that you like, you probably don't need any advice other than quit procrastinating. I think most writers are procrastinators. I know that I am. And everybody works better with a deadline. So if you're a writer and you'd like to write, but for whatever reason you're not doing it, get a deadline.
That's actually good advice.
Yeah.
But one advice that will be, that would love to be heard by people, if they're going to do it for the money.
Yeah.
And this is what one of the biggest mistake is, that I want to become Stephen King or Dan Brown or any other authors out there. What would you tell them? Well, don't waste your time. If their primary reason why they would do it is for money, would you immediately tell them, don't waste your time, just go with something else?
Right, play golf or something. it's easy to look at Stephen King and say, oh my God, look at all the books he sold, or Dan Brown, and the movies, and how hard can it be? You know, it's 300 pages. It's not easy. It's not as easy as it looks. And if you're doing it, try to get rich quick.
That's not the best option.
No. I mean, if you look at, even the people who have made it rich, the Harry Potter woman,
Yeah, J.K. Rowling.
took a long, long time. And there's classic stories about John Grisham, with his trunk is full of books that nobody will buy. I don't know about Dan Brown, but I think they could all probably tell you that it takes a lot longer than what it seems.
But what made you decide to go from either fiction or nonfiction? I mean, can you write about science? Can you write about any other subject? If you do, of course, the research. But what brought you to writing this kind of genre of book?
Well, I started off writing fiction in high school just for fun, and really didn't have a lot of interest in nonfiction. But nonfiction is how you can actually get paid. Okay. So. And eventually I figured that out. I think the first thing I got paid to write was a CD review. I think I made $5.
Oh, okay.
And I got to keep the CD, so I got free music.
You could buy yourself some milk.
I wrote for a boating magazine. I sold boats for a while, and I started to read the trade publication, and they were horrible. So I wrote a humor article and sent it in, and they bought it. And then I started with alternative press, the local micro newspapers, profiles of local people or whatever. I would walk into a story or find something that I thought was a good story and would pitch it, and the editor would buy it. And so it was all somewhat accidental. And I still, in my mind, thought, and I was still writing fiction, bumbling through it. I have probably 4 unpublished novels that I've done over the years, some of which I've gone back to and thought, hey, this isn't so bad. But it started with fiction and went to nonfiction, and then fiction has always been in the background. It's very hard to make money writing fiction. So the nonfiction has to come first because that's what pays the bills.
Unless if you're J.K. Rowling writing Harry Potter.
Well, yeah, once you get up there, then you're fine.
Okay, good. And now, what other advice would you personally give to anyone who decide to, they're already embarking into the journey of writing? Would you recommend them to write something about what they truly love about, what sells the most? Because this would be kind of like more of a guidance to tell them, well, should I do a research because this kind of subject sells very, very well, or do something that I love, but yet I might not have the right crowd, the right customers? Yeah,
I think the old saying is write what you know. So if you have something, a subject that you're well versed in, that's going to be a lot stronger for you because you know what you're talking about and you don't have to relearn everything. And in terms of the fiction, I think most people will tell you that whatever is in the fiction is coming out of your head. So once again, you're writing from your own personal experience. Maybe the characters are completely different. Things have been fictionalized. Names have been changed to protect the innocent. But you're still writing from your own personal experience. So it's coming from things that you've been through or heard about or read about or whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to, once again, going for a quick payday and writing about something that you have
no clue about. Yes,
because eventually you're going to get caught. You're going to get found out, and then you're going to be embarrassed, and it'll be bad. So write what you know. Excellent.
Now, what would you say about the cover of the book? Did you get it done by Amazon, or did you kind of think about it and try to?
I had an idea for the cover, and I wanted a dog, and I wanted the dog because the major plot point of the book starts when the dog finds the bone.
I see. Okay.
So this is actually my brother's dog, who is the worst dog actor ever.
Okay.
Ever. Don't ever work with this dog. I bought the bone from a prop company that I found online. It's made out of plastic. It's the same size as a human femur. And I tried to get the dog to put the bone in his mouth, and he would not do it. Wouldn't go anywhere near it. Bacon grease. He wouldn't touch it. So I took a picture of the dog, looking out to the field. I took a picture of the bone, and I just photoshopped it in.
Well, that's brilliant. That saves you some
I
time.
had to learn how to use Photoshop.
Yes, definitely. So you created the cover yourself, and you
Yes.
just uploaded it on Amazon.
Yes.
And got the rest done. And did
Yes.
they approve it immediately, or did they say?
No, of course
Oh,
not.
Of course not. Okay.
That's
Okay.
part of the learning curve.
Well, I think this is basically what the journey, when it comes to starting a book and, taking care of all the details, etc. So, well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Scott Sowers for sharing with us what his journey was all about towards getting published. And if you'd like to purchase the book, you can go to either Amazon or his website, and the link will be listed below. Now you could go to www.amazon.com. Now we all hope that you've enjoyed the show, and we all have you back watching our next episode. My name is Dr. Dan, and you can also view our past episode on YouTube channel. Go and type ProAce International on YouTube. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.